But Hello, HOD.
Hello, sir.
Okay, good afternoon. Okay, thank you very much. I've joined now, finally.
Oh, okay, sir. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sorry
Afternoon,
for
sir.
the delay. Yes, thank you. Sorry for the delay in commencing the class. Just some technical hitches. We have some people waiting online. I've admitted them all. So we'll continue now. Another class in SOC 106, Introduction to Sociology 2. We had to schedule this online class because of the challenges we had last week with classroom space. So while we are trying to see what alternative arrangements we can make, we thought of using this for this week so that we will not lose this week. So we hope people are able to join. We'll continue from where we stopped last week. We started with the discussion of the ideas of the founding fathers of sociology, their ideas about theories and approaches to the study of sociology. We looked at the works of Auguste Comte, who is regarded as the founding father of sociology. His thoughts about how sociology as a discipline should embark on its study, his ideas about positivism. Positivism, we said, refers to the adoption of the methods of the natural sciences for the study of the society. We also said Auguste Comte had a social evolution idea, talking about three stages, the law of three stages, that societies progress through three stages: the theological stage, the metaphysical stage, and the positive stage, which is also described as the scientific stage, which is the highest level. Then we went on to discuss the ideas of another uh, founding foundation scholar in sociology, Emile Durkheim, the French sociologist who has made significant contributions to the study of sociology. He also agreed with Auguste Comte that sociology as a discipline should adopt the methods of the natural sciences. But he thought that sociologists should study social facts, which can be simply described as aspects of social life that shape our actions. Emile Durkheim also noted in his major work, The Division of Labor in Society, he identified two types of societies. One that is characterized by mechanical solidarity and one that is characterized by organic solidarity. In this work, he tried to explain what holds the society together. How is solidarity possible in the society? According to him, the societies that are characterized by mechanical solidarity, which with the simple societies, the early societies, the village type societies, are bound together more because of their common culture, their shared beliefs and values. So it's more like a homogeneous society. People are similar in many respects. They share the same views of life, they share the same beliefs, they share the same culture, they share the same approach to life. So in such societies, it is easier for people to be bound together because they have the same beliefs, they have the same ideas. Dissent or deviation from the society's deviation from the society's objectives can be easily punished by the collectivity of the society. But as the society progresses, as populations increase, as the size of the community increases, he noted that it becomes more difficult to rely on mechanical solidarity. New people come into the society, into the community. So the idea of shared values will not apply again because we have people from different backgrounds. The population increases, so it's not possible for people to interact on a face-to-face level with everyone else. In terms of occupation, he said, also noted that division of labor sets in. Complexity in terms of the works that people do begin, so that what now binds the people together is the division of labor, not the similarity of beliefs and ideas. It is now the interdependence that division of labor creates in people. The interdependence in the sense that one person cannot survive alone. Each person needs the support of another person. What each person produces will not be enough for the person and the family, so they need the support of other people. And it is now this that binds the community together. Economic reciprocity and mutual interdependence at this level replace shared values and beliefs in creating consensus.
Ewo.
Emile Durkheim also noted that changes in the society can be very rapid as to create problems for the society. The pace of change can be so fast that it may be difficult for people to cope. So the changes could have disruptive effects on traditional lifestyles, morals, religious beliefs, and everyday life. This Emile Durkheim referred to as with the concept of anomie. So unfortunately, I cannot join with my laptop, so I'm just using the phone to for the class. There were some challenges. Emile Durkheim also wrote about suicide in the society. in his popular publication titled Suicide. And in this work, Emile Durkheim tried to show how suicide, which can be said to be a personal thing for individuals, since it is individuals that commit suicide, but that even then, even though it is individuals that commit suicide, this individual action can still be explained through social facts, because he noted that there are regularities even in the commission of suicide. The regular patterns that he noted include the observation that different groups of people have different rates of suicide. There are certain categories of people who are more likely to commit suicide than some other categories of people. For instance, he noted that suicide rates were higher among men than women, among Protestants than among Catholics, higher among the wealthy people than among the poor people, higher among single people than among married people. So these are some of the regularities and differences that Emile Durkheim noted, which he said makes suicide a subject of study of interest to sociology. In talking about division of labor, Emile Durkheim also noted some of the advantages of division of labor, and which we can just quickly go through. Advantages of division of labor. What are the advantages of division of labor? One, it can lead to increased productivity. When people specialize in different aspects of a work, then the productivity of the group can increase. With specialization, with division of labor and specialization, the dexterity, the skill with which people can perform duties will increase. This will make it possible for them to work faster and produce more. And another advantage of division of labor is that it increases solidarity among the people who share the work. But at the same time, he also noted that division of labor could have some negative effects on people. And the negative effects could include the monotony of work. People doing the same thing day in, day out in a repetitive way, it can make the work monotonous and make people work more like machines rather than as human beings, keeping pace with the movement of the machine. So these are the main ideas of Emile Durkheim. Let's go on to another founding father of sociology in the person of Karl Marx. We discussed some of the ideas of Karl Marx in the first semester. Karl Marx, like Auguste Comte and Emile Durkheim, was also concerned with understanding or studying social life at his time. that is during the period of industrial revolution. But unlike Emile Durkheim and Auguste Comte, Karl Marx worked more on economic issues. He tried to examine the relationship between economic problems and social institutions. Karl Marx focused more on changes in the society of his time, which he associated with capitalism. Capitalism he described as a system of production, which was different from how production was organized in the past. Capitalism entails the production of goods and services which are sold to a wider range of consumers. Karl Marx identified two main features of the capitalist system. One is capital itself, and the second is wage labor. So according to Karl Marx, with capitalism, the notion of wage labor, the concept of wage labor emerged. Now, what is capital? According to Karl Marx, capital can be described as any asset, whether money or machines or factories or equipment, which can be used to generate profit, which can be used to make future assets. Anything that can be used in the production process. The second concept we mentioned, wage labor, refers to a pool of workers who have to work for a pool of workers who work for some other people for their livelihoods. This refers to people who do not own the means of their livelihood. They do not own capital. They do not have capital. So for them to survive, they must work for the people who have the capital. The people who have the capital, Karl Marx also referred to as the capitalists. So the laborers, the workers, must then work for the capitalists. In this regard, Karl Marx identifies two classes of people in the society. That when we look at the society, there are two broad categories of people, two classes of people that can be identified. One class he calls the ruling class, and the other class he calls the working class. The ruling class are also referred to as the bourgeoisie, the capitalists. In other words, the rich people, the people who have the resources. While the working class are also referred to as the proletariat, the workers. And this tend to represent the masses of the population. So majority of the population then have to work for the capitalists who are fewer in number. And it's also similar to what we have in contemporary society. We have a few rich people, a few capitalists who own the capital, who have the factors of production, and we have majority of the population working for the few capitalists. According to Karl Marx, capitalism is a system in which relations are characterized by conflict, class conflict, conflict between the two classes of people, conflict between the rich and the poor, conflict between the capitalists and the working class. Now, how does this happen? If we remember with Emile Durkheim, he said division of labor, interdependence will make people to cooperate with one another. But in this situation, we can say that the capitalists, they need the workers. Without the workers, the capitalists cannot thrive. And at the same time, the workers also need the capitalists, the bourgeoisie, for their daily survival, for their wages, which will keep them going. So what one should have expected is that the two of them will cooperate because of the mutual interdependence. The rich people need the poor people to work for them. The poor people also need to work for the rich from whom they collect their wages. So ideally, they should cooperate and there should be no conflict between them. But according to Karl Marx, the relationship is an unequal relationship. The relationship is not equal. The relationship is not balanced. It is an exploitative relationship. And in such an exploitative relationship, there is bound to be conflict. And he expected that the class conflict will increase over time. The exploitation, because there's a tendency for the rich people, for the capitalists to exploit the working class, exploiting them by making them to work as much as they can make them to work and paying them as little as they can pay them. Paying them just enough to keep them going. And the way he explained it, and we can see in real life, in contemporary society, the wages that people are paid are not enough to keep them comfortable. It's just enough to keep them going from one month to another. So there's always the conflict between the two classes of people. As the level of exploitation increases, the pauperization, making the poor people poorer and poorer every day, will also increase. And he said this situation will continue until there is a workers' revolution. Workers' revolution, Karl Marx believed, was inevitable. It was bound to happen. It is this revolution that he believed will overthrow the capitalist system. The overthrow of the capitalist system will then usher in a classless society, a society in which there is no significant differences between the rich and the poor. He considered this to be a more humane society than the capitalist system. Karl Marx also had an evolutionary idea about the progression of the society. He identified 6 stages of development, and with the stages operating in a successive order, from primitive communism. The first one is, the earliest one is primitive communism, followed by the slave society, followed by feudalism, capitalism, socialism, and communism. Communism he considered to be the highest point of development for the society, a situation he described as from each according to his ability and to each according to his need. The resources of the society are shared among the people according to their needs. So this can be described as a society in which people, an affluent society in which people have what they need for their daily survival. From the works of Karl Marx, we can also identify some other components. Karl Marx had what is often described as an economic determinism economic determinism, in the sense that he believed that economic factors, economic considerations, economic conditions of people determine most other aspects of life. It is the economic situation that determines what people can do in life. And we can look at it in the everyday situation where people live, for instance, is a function of their economic condition, a function of their incomes, salaries, and so on. So the rich people tend to live in certain parts of the community. The poorer people tend to live in certain other parts of the community. The day-to-day activities that people engage in are also influenced by economic conditions. Who are the people who live in Banana Island? Who are the people who live in Namukoko, Agege, and other places? A function of economic condition. Who are the people who, how do people move about? Who are the people who ride in cars? Who are the people who walk on foot? Who are the people who ride bicycles and so on? A lot of these are determined by economic conditions, the type of houses that people live in, the leisure activities that people live in, where people spend their leisure time, and so on, are all functions of economic conditions. Karl Marx is often described as a conflict theorist. Conflict theorist. Because he believed that the society is characterized more by conflict than consensus. In the works of Emile Durkheim, for instance, we noted that he believed that the society is bound together by consensus, similarity of ideas, and interdependence between the various groups. But Karl Marx saw the society as characterized more by conflict than consensus. We'll go on to discuss more about this when we discussed the conflict theory. But we may also just put it in our mind, how do we see the Nigerian society, for instance? Is the Nigerian society characterized more by consensus or more by conflict? Karl Marx also talked about what may be described as the subsistence theory of wages. Subsistence theory of wages, which refers to the tendency for wages to remain at the subsistence level. The tendency for wages to remain at the subsistence level. So the wages are never paid to a point that the workers will be too comfortable. As we said earlier on, it is just enough to keep them going. Another important concept in the work of Karl Marx is the concept of surplus value. Surplus value. Surplus value, as used by Karl Marx, refers to the difference between the amount used to produce something and the profit that is made. Let's note that production is usually embarked upon for profit. The capitalist puts down the capital, the equipment, the building, the structure, and everything. But as Karl Marx noted, capital on its own cannot produce anything. It can only produce when it is mixed with labor. When labor comes in and labor puts the resources together to generate to lead to production. Laborers are required, the workers are required to operate the machines, for instance, so that the machines can produce the goods and services that are required. Now, the idea of surplus value, as used by Karl Marx, suggests that the profit that is generated, that is after the cost of production has been deducted, take out the cost of production, then the surplus value, that is the profit on top of the cost of production, should ideally belong to the worker, because it is the worker that produced the goods and services. But contrary to this expectation, Karl Marx noted that the surplus value is appropriated by the capitalists, which is a further indication of the exploitation of the proletariat, the worker. So these are the main ideas of Karl Marx. We'll go on to discuss another theory, a German theorist, Max Weber. The works of Max Weber covered various subject areas, including economics, law, philosophy, sociology, and so on. Max Weber was particularly concerned with understanding the nature and causes of social change. And he took his origin from the ideas of Karl Marx. So he was influenced by Karl Marx, but at the same time, he also criticized some of Karl Marx's ideas. For instance, Max Weber was of the view that class conflict, which Karl Marx focused on, was not as important, not as significant as Karl Marx thought it was. Although he noted that economic factors were important, but Max Weber believed that ideas and values that people have were more important for social change. The most notable work that was produced by Max Weber is the one that is titled The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. And in this work, he contended that the religious values that people have, the religious ideas that people have, were more important for capitalism. Religious values that were associated with Puritanism. How did Max Weber work on this? He believed that Calvinism, Puritanism, encourages people to work hard, encourages people to be thrifty, to save their money rather than being frivolous, to search for the best methods of doing things. And Max Weber was of the view that it is this attitude generated by these religious values that accounted for prosperity among the Protestants. The members of the group were enjoined to see their work as their divine calling, believing that if people succeeded in whatever they were doing, in the works that they were doing on earth, that it is an indication of God's favor and an indication of salvation in the world after this earth, in the next world. So therefore, people worked hard so that they can succeed in life, which they took to be an indication of favor or blessing by God. So it is this one attitude that he believed encourages people to work hard, and that also encouraged the emergence of capitalism. So in this regard, Max Weber thought that sociology should focus on social action. What people do, that human motivation and ideas were the forces behind social change. It is people's ideas, their beliefs, their values that can bring social transformation. In his study of religion and religious values, Max Weber studied religions of China, India, and the Northeast. That is, he made a comparative study of various religions. And it was on the basis of this that he concluded about the impact of ideas and individual values for the emergence of capitalism. So it is in this regard that Max Weber made a significant contribution to the study of religion. According to him, the progress that was achieved in the Western societies did not come from economic changes, but rather they came from cultural ideas and values that the people had. We can also relate this to our contemporary society. What is the role of ideas, beliefs, and practices of people? What is the role of culture in the economic advancements of societies and progress of people? When, for instance, we look at the Nigerian society, there are certain groups of people, there are certain ethnic groups that we can describe in various ways in terms of their beliefs and values, in terms of their approaches to life, in terms of their orientation, their attitude to work. The Nigerian society, for instance, broadly speaking, looking at the three major ethnic groups, the Igbo, the Yoruba, the Hausas, we can, from this Max Weber's perspective, describe some of the attitudes, beliefs, and values that people have and the implications of this for business development and success. Which group of people, for instance, which ethnic group has values and ideas which promotes economic development, economic advancement more than another group. And even within various groups, we can still look at subgroups of people in terms of their values, their attitudes to economic activities. Max Weber, in further talking about capitalism, believe that capitalism is further developed through a system of organization, which is described as bureaucracy. Bureaucracy, according to Max Weber, can be simply described as the most efficient method. Bureaucracy, the most efficient method of organizing large numbers of people for work. He talked about the characteristics of bureaucracy that enhance productivity. According as Max Weber noted, with his idea about ideal type bureaucracy, ideal type bureaucracy, which he used to describe the best method of organization, ideal type. The characteristics of ideal type bureaucracy include: one, a hierarchical organization of work. A hierarchical chain of command. So the work organization is arranged in a hierarchical order, such that there are some people at the lower levels and there are some people at the upper levels. So if we use the illustration of the government work, for instance, the civil service, at the lower level, we have the messengers, the cleaners. At a higher level, we have the clerical officers. At another level, we have the junior officers, middle level officers, up to assistant director, deputy director, director, and ultimately to the position of permanent secretary. So work organization is organized in a hierarchical order in such a way that one level is subordinate to the next higher level. And this, he believed, enhances efficiency. The hierarchical structure ensures that order flows down. Order is given at the top and it is communicated down the structure, while accountability flows up. The person at a higher level has more authority than the person at a lower level, has more responsibility than a person at a lower level. Bureaucracy also entails specialization and division of labor. So various units of the ministry, various sections of the ministry are responsible for various aspects of the ministry's work. There's the account section, there's the human resource section, there's the technical section, there's the engineering section, there's the marketing section, and it goes on and on like that, so that people specialize in different aspects of the work. Just like as Marx, as Emile Durkheim noted for division of labor, so bureaucracy also entails division of labor. This specialization allows for greater efficiency because individuals become experts in their areas. Bureaucracy, Max Weber also noted, is guided by rules and regulations, formal rules and regulations that are written down for people to follow. So the actions of people are guided by these rules, so that people do not just behave in any haphazard manner in the organization. People do not act arbitrarily, but they act according to the laid down rules and procedures. And this helps to ensure that the actions and activities of the organization are standardized and consistent at all times. In a sense, this also makes actions predictable, Because there are rules that guide what people can do, then you can predict what a person is likely to do in an organization. In ideal type bureaucracy, the tools of work are owned by the organization, not by individuals. In a sense, this helps to ensure the continuity of the bureaucratic system, the organization. If the tools of work were to be owned by individuals, if a person feels aggrieved, the person can decide to take his tools away from the organization and paralyze the activities of the organization. But the work tools are owned by the organization. So if anybody wants to exit the organization, the person can just take himself or herself out of the organization, but the tools and resources of the organization will be available for other people to use to continue the work. So when people work in offices, the files and the cabinets and other things that they use in the organization belong to the organization, not to individuals. So if people leave the organization, the file will remain and people can refer to the files from time to time and know how things were done in the past. Bureaucracy also is based on rationality. Rationality in the sense that appointments and promotions are based on competence, qualification, in such a way that the most qualified person is usually appointed to occupy positions. This ensures that the organization gets the best out of a wide range of options. Based on qualification and competence, so the organization looks at the skills, the qualifications that people have in appointing them into offices. Promotion is also based on merit and competence. So people who are good at their work are more likely to be promoted, while people who are not so good in the performance of their works are likely to lag behind in terms of upward mobility. So these are some of the characteristics of ideal type bureaucracy that Max Weber identified, which enhance the work of the organization. Max Weber also talked about authority structures. He identified 3 types of authority structures, namely traditional authority, charismatic authority, and rational authority. The traditional authority is the type of authority that operates in traditional settings, in villages, in communities, and also in the family. Authority structure in the family is based on tradition, a situation in which power is given to the oldest person, not necessarily the most competent person. Power is based on age. Power could also be based on gender, the tendency to identify the male as the head of the household. This is a gender-based authority system, traditional authority system, how things had been done in the past, and then continuing with those ideas, not necessarily based on qualification or competence. And he believed that this often retards progress. The next type of authority is the can be transferred, can be inherited, so that the son or the daughter of the leader can come into the position of the leader. If we look at the royalty, for instance, the ruling families, the current king of England succeeded his mother. So it is by inheritance, not necessarily the most qualified person in the king when the king dies. So authority can be transferred from one person to another. We can think of various other illustrations. Another type of in which so we can talk of some charismatic leaders. So the network is becoming very unstable. Typical illustrations will include religious leaders, for instance. Many people flock to religious organizations because of the charisma, the qualities of a particular religious leader, the personal qualities of the religious leader. Charismatic authority, unlike traditional authority, may not be transferable in the sense that it does not necessarily follow that the son or daughter or wife of the charismatic leader will succeed the charismatic leader. Oftentimes, the qualities may just die with the charismatic leader. The third type of authority is the rational authority, which is often further described as legal rational. It is this type of authority that Max Weber said characterizes bureaucracy. As we said, bureaucracy is guided on rationality. Bureaucracy is guided by rules and regulations which are applied to all. It is said to be legal because it is based on existing rules of the organization. It is rational because it is the most competent person that is appointed into positions. These are some of the main ideas of Max Weber that we'll discuss in the class. So with this, we bring our discussion of the founding fathers of sociology and their theoretical perspectives to an end. We'll move on to another aspect of the course by looking at various categories of theories. In this regard, we'll be discussing three broad categories or classes of theories. The first one is functionalism. Functionalism, from function, functionalism. So what is functionalism? The second one is conflict theory. And the third one is the symbolic interactionist theory, also described as symbolic interactionism. Functionalism or functional theories, functionalist theory. So these are the three that we'll discuss. So what is functionalism? Functionalism is the theory that conceives of the society as comprising various components or parts which perform some functions. So the functionalist theory looks at the functions that the components or parts of the society perform for the society. In this regard, the theory sees the society as a complex whole or system, a complex whole or system, which comprises various parts which work together for the stability and solidarity of the society. A complex whole or system which comprises various parts which work together for the stability and solidarity of the society. In other words, the various parts function. The various parts function to keep the society going, to keep the society working. So functionalism looks at the functions that the various parts perform for the society. By function, when we talk of function in this regard, we refer to the contribution of the various parts to the society. So we can look at our society from the functionalist perspective as comprising various institutions such as the family, the religious institution, the educational institution, the work organization, the economic institution, and so on. And the idea is that all these institutions exist to work for the society, to ensure that the society continues to operate as it should operate. So the family as an institution has its own functions for the society. We can think of the functions of the society, the family as an institution. It is oftentimes through the family that members of the society are produced. So the procreation function of the society, of the family, producing people in the society. If people are not produced, if new people are not born to replace the people who die, then after some time, the society will go into extinction. And this is a function that the family performs, reproducing members of the society. Beyond this, the family also performs some other functions for the society. For instance, we can think about the socialization function, teaching members of the society, teaching young people, children, infants, and so on about the rules and values and culture of the society, so that as they grow, as they develop to be members of the society, and they fall in line with the expectations of the society. So they do what is expected of them in the society. What are the functions of the education institution? Teaching and inculcating in people the skills and knowledge that they require to function in various positions in the society. So sociologists go to the university for sociology, engineers go to the university to study engineering, the lawyers study law, and so on, so that they can function effectively in their work organizations. Functionalism can be described as a major theoretical viewpoint in the 20th century, in particular in the up to the 1960s. Functionalism was very popular in sociology. However, the popularity of functionalism began to decline with the emergence of the conflict theory. Some Popular functionalists, we have discussed some of them already, include people such as Comte, Emile Durkheim, Robert Martin, and Starcott Parsons. As we progress, functionalism as a theoretical school emphasizes consensus, emphasizes stability, emphasizes order. The stability and order is made possible through the functions that the institutions perform. Functionalists see the society as being characterized more by consensus and order. Rather than conflict and disunity. The functionalists see the society as being more united than disunited, more organized than disorganized, more stable than unstable. And this is because of the consensus that exists. They see the society as comprising people who subscribe to similar ideas and values. And it is this similarity of ideas and values that enhance the stability of the community or society. Talking about Comte and Emile Durkheim, we noted earlier on that they use the analogy of an organism to study society, comparing the society to an organism. For instance, looking at a human organism, the human body. The human body can be said to comprise various parts, and that all the parts work together to ensure the survival of the person. In a human being, we have the heart, we have the kidney, we have the eyes, we have the noses, we have the hands, we have the legs, but all of this, from the functionalist perspective, work together for the survival, for the well-being of the individual. It is in the same way that the functionalists consider the various parts, the component parts of the society, that all of them work together for the good of the society. If one part is defective, then it creates problems for the human body. If a hand or eye or leg or whatever is defective, it creates problems. If the heart stops beating, if the heart stops pumping blood into the human body, then the person ordinarily dies. So for the human being to continue, the various parts must continue to perform their functions. It is the same idea that we have with the society. I think we'll just stop here today. We'll continue from here next week. Hopefully, we'll have been able to work out a better arrangement for the running of the class. So we'll stop here today. We'll continue next week. Well, if there are questions or comments, then I'll be willing to the comments. If there are no comments,
Excuse me, sir.
yes. Please, sorry, just a minute. Let me just remind all of us to write down our names and matric numbers in the chat section of the platform. Yes, so I can see. Okay, somebody wanted to talk now.
Sir, please, is there any available slides?
Yes, we'll make the slides available. Unfortunately, today I couldn't use my laptop, so that's why I couldn't share my screen with you.
Okay, sir.
We'll work on it and make sure the slides are available for the next class. I can see Michael raising his hand.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening, Michael.
Yes, sir. Please, I want to know if there is like who is the founder of these functionalist theories? Because conflict theories is from Karl Marx, right? So
yes, Karl Marx.
Okay, then the functionalist, who is the founder of this theory?
Well, there are several scholars in this area. I don't know, did I mention Auguste Comte, Emile Durkheim, Robert Martin, Talcott Parsons? So all of these are functionalist theorists.
Okay. Please, I have another question. Maybe.
Yes, what's the question, please?
Okay. When we talk about new members of the family, like how the family produce new members into the society, okay?
Yes.
In the process of these new members integrating into the society, is it true the beginning stage? Is it true culture before interaction? Sorry, is it culture or socialization? Culture before socialization or socialization before culture? So it is very confusing for me, this part.
Well, culture exists on its own. Culture refers to the values, norms, and practices of the people. But young babies are social.
Oh. Oh.
A successive thing that one calls, they are more like tabula rasa, just nothing. They can act, they act instinctively, just on instinct.
Excuse me, sir. I don't know if you can hear me, but you were breaking in and out, so I couldn't get your point earlier on.
But through socialization within the family, they can be taught about the rules of behavior. So it is through socialization that the culture is inculcated. It is through socialization that people become human. It is through socialization as the child begins to grow up gradually. The child begins to understand the rules and norms of the society, and then begins to behave like members of the society. And we can look at it from our study of young babies. When they are born, they can do anything they like. If you carry a baby, the baby can defecate on you, can wee on you, and all of that. That is the baby. And at a point, it is tolerated. So you have to be careful when you carry babies. But as the baby grows gradually, the parents begin to teach the baby, that is to socialize the baby into the society. When the baby, so they start with potty training, for instance, telling the baby when you want to poo, when you want to wee, then go to the toilet. Gradually, after some time, the baby understands it and things fall in place. So that is the socialization process. I don't know if this explains it a bit, Michael.
Very clear, sir. Thank you so much,
Okay.
sir.
Angel Ijeoma, I can see your hand up. Angel Ijeoma, I see your hand up. Udekwe.
Okay. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, good afternoon.
I said earlier on bureaucracy, if a person in an organization leaves the organization.
Sorry, I can't hear you clearly. Sorry. Can you please say that again?
And not today. Okay, let me come again. You said earlier on bureaucracy that
Bureaucracy,
if a
yes.
leaves an organization, the file, document, and cabinet by the person, handled by the person, belongs to the organization and not the person. So, suppose
not the individual worker. Yes.
If a person presents a proposal and decided to quit, and the company puts the proposal to another person, isn't that impersonation a theft of identity?
If somebody submits a proposal,
yeah,
and then the organization, if I get you right, gives the proposal to another person or something.
Yes. Like if the person that brought up proposal left the organization and the organization gave proposal to another person, isn't that theft of identity or impersonalization?
No, the way I will look at it, except it is a patented product that has copyright. But if you work for an organization and the organization pays you to work, then your work belongs to the organization. So you conduct a study for an organization and you are paid for the study, then the work belongs to the organization. You work in an office, you create a group, you are assigned a task to perform, and you perform the task. The work belongs to the organization that paid the person to do the work. So if the person wants to leave the organization, the person will leave the organization but cannot go with the work since the work was paid for by the organization. So if the person developed an idea while working for the organization, then the organization can continue to work, to use the idea, even though the person might have left, because the person produced the idea while working in the organization, while working for the organization. I don't know whether you agree with this or not.
Okay, I understand now. I understand. Thank you.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Okay, so if there are no other comments, I will say good evening to you all. We'll meet again next week, but any further developments about our arrangements for next week will be communicated. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Good
Thank
night,
you, sir. Okay.
Make it